Hello, Houyans. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, I'll redo that bit. It's not Austin mode, it's Taskmaster mode. And welcome to the chat. Right. So for viewers, because I'm not cutting that bit because I find that hilarious. I run I run 12 YouTube channels. So we're
Wow.
yeah yeah. Anyway, so we're back with the Taskmaster World the podcast today. The channel itself, we are still reviewing Taskmaster UK series 14, but we were away at the weekend. I mean me. I seen the third time, so Thomas was away, and so he's back. We're back. I'm back again. I'm getting so confused where I am now. And so what we're doing is we're interviewing a brand new comedian. He's best known for appearing in Taskmaster New Zealand Series 3 and many films, a film that's available on Sky with Sally Phillips, but it's not a family friendly name, so we shan't mention it. But if you know what I mean, watch it, you'll like it. It's the one and only, and hopefully we say the last name right. It's Josh Thomson!
Hey, hey, how are you? You good?
I'm alright. So, you've done so much before Taskmaster New Zealand, and you're very very well known, as I'm gonna call it. You're well known across the world. You've got the memorable hairstyle
I
of
sure do.
of yeah. The only other person I can think of that has the same hairstyle as you is Chris Lurley when he was playing that bloke from
Jonathan Tonga. Yeah. Or maybe Richard Ayoade has a similar
yeah, but
thing.
he's a lot taller than you, so
Is he? Is he really tall?
I think he looks for it
Ah,
when you watch Question Team, he looks like a massive stick.
yeah. I mean, that just saying he's taller just sounds like a really nice way of saying he's skinnier than me. He's very slender. He's a very handsome man.
Yeah, right. We shall move on before we insult Richard Iwadi. I still want we don't want to upset him too much. So let's start at the
Hmm.
beginning. So first there was dinosaurs. They got killed out. Then we got cavemen,
Hmm.
and then you
Hmm.
were born.
Hmm.
Uh, how did you get into comedy?
How did I get into comedy? I've always been quite silly, and I did a lot of school plays and things like that. But I think I really found out that I enjoyed making people laugh. I remember we have a thing called a pet day in New Zealand, where you bring a pet to school. I'm assuming you have something similar in the UK. You have something like
What's
that
a
in the UK.
pit? Just remind me what a pit is. Is
A
that
pet.
not got a hole in
a,
the ground?
you bring a pet, and you dig it. Well, yeah. How do you say pet?
Or is it Brad Pitt? I'm not sure. Could you
you
just
you
explain what we're on about, just so I can understand?
you bring like an animal that you've cared for with your family. What are you saying? Pet. You
Like a
bring a
teddy,
pet.
like a
Pet day.
teddy. Oh, an animal.
An animal. Yeah,
A
and
pet.
a pet. So we had a pet day, and
That makes more sense. Should have got that to begin with.
so at this pet day, I I was maybe 5 or 6, and I realized that adults laughed at things that were quite boring, and I didn't understand why. And I remember saying to my friends, "Watch this! I'm going to go make these adults laugh." And I walked over to some adults, and I just started talking about taxes, the local council, the work that needed to be done on the roads, and all the adults were really, really laughing hard. And I was like, they've got some other different sense of humor going by. I don't understand it, but I think I've cracked it. And that was pretty much the start of it for me, I think.
Well, in the it's similar. I think so. We have something similar. I don't know whether it's just a me thing, but we had where you bring a teddy in and you had a picnic outside.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had one of those Build-A-Bear teddies. It was a dog, so I put it was on, yeah, no, it was a teddy there with the dog, and it had roller skates on it, and it had a lead, so I would carry it on
Huh.
track around and it had roller skates on it. Yeah, it was a roller skating dog. Now
Yeah.
that sounds weird, but it also had a guitar as well. So
The guitar.
yeah, the guitar around its neck. It was on a yacht
Oh,
that it had skates on.
there's a lot. That's too many things for a dog.
Yeah, too
A
many.
ball, just a ball, not roller skates and a guitar.
Well, it wasn't real, so we're all glad with
Yeah,
that.
that's true.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we also once, whilst we're on about school, I'll mention this because it'll make my viewers giggle. Once there was a sign outside my primary school that's near me that said, "Slow down, you'll save lives." Right? Don't no, no.
Mm.
He said, "Don't stop here." Actually, he said, "Don't stop here," and then they put a traffic light in front of it. So you have to stop when the traffic light is. So the traffic light was on red.
Right.
Yeah, and then the sign next to it said, "Don't stop here."
Oh, don't stop it. I thought it said slow down. Oh,
No,
slow down,
no,
don't
no,
stop it.
no.
Right.
I got the wrong thing.
Well, the UK sounds very complicated with your mobile dogs and your guitar playing
Well,
canines. I don't understand it.
that's the well. I was around in 2004, so it's early 2000s.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
the times have changed. We're
Yeah.
not as well. I'm not as weird as that. I'm a little bit more weird. Yeah, I do this for a living. Anyway, before
Well.
before we have Doris crying. So, had you had seen any of Taskmaster before? That not just the UK version, any of it, because there's so much your eyes could probably fall out watching it.
Mm. Um. Not much. I first heard of it when Rose Matafeo got into it from the, and that was big news, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I had no idea it was what it was and how big it was and whatever, but she's Rose is incredibly talented, and we're all very proud of her in New Zealand, and all very jealous when she started getting all these things. I was like, no, another thing she's got good. But no, we were so stoked for her, but I didn't really know much about it, and it was kind of hard to watch in New Zealand at that time. Yeah, that was all I heard about it. But then I did a movie with Sally Phillips in Australia, and she said that she did Taskmaster, and that I should do it. And Sally is just a wonderful, wonderful person, and she was a comedy hero of mine growing up. Smack the Pony, and I remember watching all that stuff growing up. And to be in a film with her was just like, oh my god. And then she was like, hey, I did this show called Taskmaster, you should do it. And I was like, oh, it's not really up to me. It's not how it works. And then I got the phone call.
Yeah.
Someone said, hey, you should do it. And I was like, okay, this is weird. And so then I watched all of Sally's series,
Yeah,
and it was incredible. Like I've watched a few other bits. But Sally's series is so amazing. Sally, Bob Mortimer, Nitch Kumar, is it Mark Watson?
yeah.
And who's the other person?
Not it. Oh,
Oh, is that it?
is it?
Sally
No,
Nash.
shoot. Wait. So it's
Oh no, Aisling B.
actually being that's it. See.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a credible season.
Yeah.
And right from the first, she does a task with Alex, and just starts rubbing cake all over him and like laughing her head off, and she's just that's the perfect description of Sally, is her rubbing cake and putting cake into Alex's pockets and laughing
Yeah. Well,
so gently and enjoying it so much. Yeah, so I saw that, but then I didn't. There was an article that came out in New Zealand after season 2 saying who's going to be in season 3, and people were trying to guess who it would be, and there were a few different articles from a few different people saying that I should be in it. Because I'm a bit like David Correos from season 2, and so I became very paranoid. I didn't want to watch that and deliver a bad David Correos or a similar David Correos. So like I didn't watch any New Zealand one at all. Yeah, yeah, because he's like such a funny guy, and I know him from doing comedy, and I can kind of see the similarity, but I think like I have like bursts of insanity, whereas he is on a different level of madness altogether, which is a wonderful, gentle, wonderful, wonderful man. So yeah, that's all I saw. The one with Sally Phillips
Yeah.
and nothing from New Zealand. Yeah.
Well, she was on QI. Not
Right.
one of her appearances as a QI. She's done many. She talked about how there was legal issues with her on Taskmaster because she was trying to mail a coconut, and apparently you can't mail coconuts. Apparently there's some legal rule that you're not allowed to
Ah,
send coconuts to certain countries, which is
probably
very,
like a customs thing or something.
yeah, probably. Um,
Agricultural.
yeah. It's a very weird one. But do you know if Sally knew about Taskmaster New Zealand? Did she know that existed? It'd be really weird if
Ah, no, I don't think so. I
she
don't think so.
she was assuming you
Yeah.
would be on the UK version when she was asking.
I think. Yeah, no, because I think I brought up Rose. I said that had she ever worked with Rose, or because Rose, like at that time, was writing her HBO series, and I was like wondering if their paths had crossed.
Yeah,
And she said, no, no, Rose is on Taskmaster. And she said, oh, I was on Taskmaster as well. And then she told me all about it.
yeah.
And then she showed me a clip from the team task, which is her, Ashling and Bob
Oh
singing
yeah, yeah, Rosalind.
Rosalind, yeah, Rosalind,
Yeah,
you're a nightmare. Yeah, it was
yeah,
incredible.
yeah. Yeah. Now that is the greatest moment, but there's many other moments that could easily top it. That's anything you've done. So, how did you choose? Because you really went in with it. I, you say your name now, people will imagine you just knocking over a dummy or a doll or mannequin, whatever you want to call it. When you
Yeah,
when you knock over that, but then you get panicked afterwards and you realize and you really freak out that you've done something really bad.
yeah. I mean, I there
You
was
say
one of them.
burst of energy, you really mean burst of energy.
Yeah, I did. I think I did a couple with the mannequin, maybe, and one was make a dramatic exit,
Yeah,
which I've later come to realize I kind of made a dramatic entrance, which is the complete opposite. In my head, it was much better than I was going to come out and do a bunch of
yeah.
things like from an action movie, and I wanted to like sort of karate kick something dramatic, but it looked very lame, and the only mannequin they had is a female mannequin, and only afterwards, when you kick a woman in half, does it just doesn't look good on paper. It doesn't look good when you say it out loud, when you see it written down in a legal document. It just looks bad, and the more you try to talk about it, the worse it gets. It's
I'm surprised he had any in it. I'm surprised the bits were just cut. Just
yeah.
you've written over it. Legal problems. Can't show this footage.
They could have blurred it or something, but to be, they only had a female one. It's kind of their fault for not having a diverse range of mannequins for me to beat up. Like, if it's not my fault.
Yeah, well, they could have seen the next time there was a wedding at the house. They could see the mannequin just chopped up in half, thinking, what's happened there?
Yeah, it might be slightly broken. Might be slightly broken. Yeah.
I can imagine them doing someone having a Taskmaster themed wedding at the Taskmaster house. I can imagine that. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wasn't really aware of the fan base. I fell in love with the show after watching while watching Sally's
Yeah,
series. But I didn't know that was such a phenomenon, and
yeah,
there were like Reddit groups and
yeah.
people like really into it. Like people in the UK were watching it before people in New Zealand had
Yeah.
watched it properly. You know what I
Well,
mean? It was.
it's massive. We've now got four ways to watch the UK version. So
Hmm.
you've got normal TV. So when you watch it
Hmm.
on Sky and that, you can watch it on UK TV Play. You can watch it on all four, and you can watch it on Taskmaster Super Max Plus, and that's only the UK version.
Hmm.
So you've got many. You can either watch it for free or you can pay to watch it monthly.
What's Taskmaster Supermax Plus?
It's a Taskmaster streaming service that
Oh.
that in America and every other country, every version's available.
Oh, okay, but not the UK.
In the UK, there's only the UK version available,
Ah, okay.
which don't make sense. But with your series, you had
Hmm.
with a range of outfits. Now, how did you choose your ensemble? Shall we say?
Well, ensemble. It's now I got warned about this, and and you can't really tell, but for some reason that wedding venue and that tiny, it's like a tiny environmental microcosm, that tiny little segment area of like hills and like it is so hot there. It is so hot. Um, so and it's just that when we film it, it's in the middle of summer, and it was just it's pretty close to being incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be cool because I heard that someone in the first series like wore a suit and things like that, and they said that they were, but it was pretty hot. It was gross. Yeah, my back was wet a lot of the time. If you turn around and look at the crew had these massive hats on that was slathered in like sun cream, and there's people getting ice and drinking water. It was really fun, but it was very hot.
Yeah, but when they look at the UK crew, half the time they've got an umbrella because it's very rarely sunny. And
Yeah, right.
the other day we had massive winds. So with your series was slightly different to the others
Mhm.
in a sense, but with the team tasks, none of you were safe on many moments of madness. So, what was your favorite team task to actually do?
My favorite team task was definitely the golf cart, just driving around,
I
and yeah, that was really fun because the the one with the big ball, that was again like we were all like I think Justine had been sick as well, and it was really hard. We were really tired, and it was our first one. We were trying to like impress each other, but like we were really struggling getting that ball back up the hill. I don't know how the two guys did it by themselves, the Zorb or whatever it was. So the golf cart was fun. Like we're in the driving around was fun. We were yelling out stupid things, and yeah, I think it was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and I quite liked how like you can tell when some tasks worked just as
Mm.
the two of them, or when some worked as the three of them.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Because you can tell where some of them where like the ball one was you were sort
Mm.
of like it was sort of struggled to work out how you're going to do this as the three where the two of them had easily solved like the
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's why when they tried to remake Taskmaster in Spain, which failed, they had
Oh,
six
right.
people doing it rather than just
Oh.
five, so they can even team.
Oh, right. Okay.
Then it made more sense, but that show got cancelled after
Yeah.
a series anyway.
Well, the great thing about the show is that it doesn't really have to make sense. Like, there's a very strong feeling of logic and rules and things because there are tasks and the tasks are rules. But it also battles against the fact that nothing makes sense. It's all arbitrary. It all comes down to whatever the guy thinks is best.
Yeah,
To like, and that's what makes it's so much fun. It's very competitive, but also it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I mean that's very easy to say because I won, but like like yeah,
uh,
yeah, it was so much fun. Yeah.
so this might be a spoiler for anyone that hasn't seen series three, and I'm wondering
Oh,
why.
sorry.
No. What I'm about to say is
Okay.
my next words might spoil it.
Okay.
Right. So what is right? My words are going to be massive spoilers. What is
Hmm.
Jeremy's head made out of? Because you've won the trophy. That is a massive spoiler. But what's
That
your
is a massive spoiler.
what's his
I
head made
did.
out of?
His head is made out of plaster of Paris, or not just plaster. What do you call it? Yeah. So that stuff that you bog up walls with,
Yeah.
it's just a plaster cast, and it is so heavy. It is. It's not hollow. It's just a massive ball of jib board, and it's very annoying because it's kind of top heavy. It looks and is very unsafe
Yeah.
because I think it's going to fall off where it is and roll around and crack someone. It's very annoying because I had to move when the series went to air. I had to move house kind of twice, and I didn't want to damage it, so I had to like drive around with it in like the seat of my car, and it nearly rolled out of the car once, and it was very annoying. It's very annoying.
If you had it driving in the car, how did you keep it hidden so no one knew you had won the series?
Oh no, I I it had gone to air by the time I'd done it, so people had known. So
Oh,
I just strapped it in. But also, I think people just kind of expect to see me with weird stuff in my car anyway. So it's kind of a good way. It covers up a lot of sins.
yeah. And I felt like I was trying to eat a whale there. Um, I don't know. That's the weirdest thing I've ever done. So with the head, did you manage? How did you manage to take it out of the studio without anyone noticing? Well, obviously the audience would know you've won,
Mm.
but everyone outside of that, because they've all got to say, "Don't tell anyone you've won. Don't tell anyone
Yeah.
you've won." So like with Richard Herring, when he was telling me about his winnings, he had hidden
Mhm.
the trophy out of sight, like just off the corner from his camera. So whenever he did anything, no one saw it. So how did you manage to hide your trophy?
Oh right. Well, I just kind of wrapped it up in my suit jacket, and just went to my car. It wasn't too bad, and it was yeah. It was really hard to keep the secret, um, and yeah. I mean, I had a lot of friends rooting for me to win, so they were like, but it's such a strange thing as well to just do it, and then oh, hang on, what am I talking? Yeah, yeah. It was hard to keep. It was just, and even my wife, like she's like, did you win? I was like, I can't tell you. And then I had to smuggle it into the house, and I put it inside a box, and then I put it into the garage. But then I forgot about it, and I pulled the. I made a thing like a sushi train, like a. I put that in the same box, and then so every time my wife was in the garage, she'd accidentally bump. So that sushi train thing is real. If you tap it, it'll start playing the Sushi Train song. So she'd hear it, and she's like, "Oh, something's got." And so I'd hear like Sushi Train. I'd be like, "No, no, don't go in there, don't go in there!" And I'd run into the garage. Don't go in there, don't go in there. And she's like, "It's playing." Yeah. So I had to figure out a better way to hide it. That Sushi Train thing was very annoying as well because when it's a very cheap button that you press and it plays the song, but it plays the entire song and
Oh
it has
no.
to. You can't stop it. So when I was moving as well, it was in the box. Anytime you hit the brakes, it would like start playing. So it was like 40 minutes in the car and traffic and the motorway and just Sushi Train, and you're like, "No, shut up, Sushi Train." But my kids really liked it. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did your kids, because Taskmasters in the UK we've got a PG version, and
Oh, really?
Paul because it's like Dave Dave are rerun the shows all the time, so Dave want to rerun it like 6 p.m. So they need a family friendly edition so they can bleep it out.
Is that right? Okay, cool.
Yeah. And Paul was saying that there wasn't a PG version in your version, but has because your kids seemed, I say seemed because they seemed very young. So
Yes.
did they manage to watch it, or are you going to wait till they're older to watch it?
Oh no, they've not watched many things I've done at all. There's many things that I've done that are far too inappropriate for my children. Yeah, but that's good. They've got a good backlog of mediocre television with me in it to watch. So, but not this. This is this. I'll be really happy to show them this. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and so this is a hypothetical thing. So like sort of like when famous people die, they sort of like the family feel like they're not dead because they've got enough to watch. So because you're
Yeah.
not showing any of your kids any of your stuff, so if you end up at some point, they'll have enough back catalogue to pretend you're still here.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, it'll be quite weird for them as well because I'm quite different on camera. Am I? Than I am at home. Maybe. Nah. Yeah. I do a lot more. There's a lot more bursts when I'm doing camera of me being insane.
Yeah. Now, what was the your favourite task that you did, but that never made it to air? Now, when I asked Paul William, no Paul William, when I asked Paul Eagle this question,
Mhm.
he'd completely forgot everything he'd ever done. So,
What a surprise!
do you remember any of the tasks that never aired? That were your
there
favourite?
were, yeah, there was a champagne cork thing that we did that was used as a tiebreaker, and my one was did not go to air, and I thought I did really well. You basically had to pop a champagne cork as far as you could, very simple, but I really shook the crap out of it, and I also like stuck it between my legs to heat it up because I thought I'm not sure if it was right if I could get the air temperature inside the bottle to expand a little bit, it might go a little bit further. popped it, and I'm pretty sure it went really far, but I'll never know if it was further than
Uh,
anyone else.
yeah. I,
And
yeah.
but there was another one which was like a giant Jenga set, like a big Jenga tower, and you had to pull out a Jenga piece from as far away as possible.
Now, and we are back. Right, go on.
Yeah, so and Justine's task did not make it to air, but Justine's got a great story about this task as well, which I won't spoil. But I was really proud because I taped it to a piece of string, and then I taped that to a massive piece of rope, and then I taped that to a extension cord, a power cord, and then I taped it to a garden hose, and I went so far away that the camera crew was so surprised at how far away I was doing it from,
Mm.
and that they had to like move. And I was like, "There's no way anyone else has done it this far away. This must be incredible." They weren't ready for it. Like I was getting like I was halfway in the forest, like yanking it, and I pulled it, and it came out. And so I was really, I mean, it wasn't very funny, but I'd done it from a very long far away, and I was really excited. And it was the first task I'd ever done, and I was like, "Great, this is what all the tasks are going to be like. I'm going to nail them all. This is great." And it never made it to air. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, if Taskmaster NZ gets an official YouTube channel like Taskmaster UK, they'll end up showing some
Oh,
like.
do they? Oh, fun.
So
Yeah,
the
yeah.
UK version aired a tiebreaker task that was never used for reaching 1 million subscribers
Oh, right.
because in every series they'd film the same tiebreaker task because they film them
Mm,
just in case whether or not
that's right.
anyone needs them, and they were all the ones where you have to turn over the bay mats to see the other side, and then they did a see who won the tiebreakers. So they had
Oh, right.
a table, you had to turn over as many bay mats in a minute. And the obvious
Right.
thing is tip over a table, and you've done it, but no one did that. They all did the harder route, and some people
Yeah.
didn't listen when time was up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. You as soon as it happens, I mean, I would go into it. I'm quite a like I really read each task a lot. Like I really wanted to make sure I got everything right before I proceeded, and I spent a lot of time thinking at the start, and it which helped me out sometimes, but also just meant I lost a lot of time. So I can easily see where you just lose your mind. There's a lot of pressure as well from just cameras and people and blah 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 blah. So it's a weird. I can understand people getting stuff wrong, but I made a big like I was like every time I do it, I'm going to read the task 1,000 times just to make sure I've 100% got it. Yeah.
Now, since you've been on Taskmaster New Zealand, do you ever get recognised in the street for Taskmaster?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people would people. I've had people yell, "Well, all right," to me from cars, which I assume is from Taskmaster, but that might just also be on a good bus.
They might just
Um,
asking you a question.
yeah, and yeah, it's really lovely. People will come out and say nice things from the show, but a lot of the times the compliments could be taken two ways. I've heard, I thought you were quite stupid, but you turned out to be quite intelligent. Um, Basically, a lot. And I was like, oh, that's nice, I think.
Now, before we move on to the episode that we're going to talk about, I would
Mhm,
like to ask your thought process of finding out that Raya O'Leary, who should also be on Taskmaster in his own rights,
mhm.
look at how he looks like you, because I've got a good feeling that the hair's sort of similar, but there's not much else. Where did that thought process come from?
Well, we got asked to find a doppelganger, and we all thought we weren't quite sure how it would work during the show, but I really lost my mind. Like I started following guys. Like when I saw a guy with his hair, I would just start following them around. And at one point, I started following a guy around the post office. I was like, "Wow, this guy really looks like me. He really looks like me, and I should ask him." But then I was like, "Oh, what if he's, like, I don't know anything about this guy. Like, what if, what if he's an ex-murderer? What if he's done horrible things? That, like, but also like, well, what if I just don't want to hang? Like, I don't want to ask somebody to come and hang out with us. I want to bring someone into that space who might I don't know, I don't know, he might be like a. So I was like, how do I figure this out? This is why I'm walking behind him in the post office. So then I'm like, oh, I've got to find out his name. I saw that he was filling out a car registration form to register his number plate, and so I just sort of crept behind him and started looking over his shoulder, and I got part of his name, and he turned around, and I was like, oh, and then I followed him to the desk, and was like, I pretended to buy some stamps, and I got the other half of his name, sort of, and I kind of got his name, but then he really caught me, and he thought I was quite strange. And then I went to a library, and I was trying to get a. We used to have a thing. Oh, you have the white pages, the yellow pages, to see if I could get a similar name or find out. And then the guy wouldn't let me have a phone book because he kind of thought I was quite weird. I was acting quite strange, and I realized I was getting quite stalky, so I kind of like had to calm down a bit. And then a lot of time went past, and I hadn't found a good doppelganger, and I wasn't sure how to do it. And I was doing a comedy gig, and I just looked at Ray O'Leary, and I went, oh, I can wear a grey suit. I can just look like Ray. And then that was it, really. Because Ray, for your viewers, Ray O'Leary is a wonderful New Zealand comic, and he always wears the same thing every time he performs, which is this fairly well-worn grey suit now and some glasses. So that's what I wore. And I wore glasses during the show. It was last minute thing, so I ended up wearing someone's prescription glasses. So I was having migraines by the time the doppelganger section came up.
Yeah, and sort of when that happened for me, it made sense why you're all wearing really obscure outfits.
Yeah, yeah.
Naming no names because we'll speak about that at a later date. But naming no names, it was some. Two, I've got a feeling someone might have fallen over wearing that massive dress that
Oh yes, yeah, yeah, yes, yeah, yeah.
uh, yeah, which her double ganger did not look anything like her. If, if, that one that really bemused me because she must have been near RuPaul's Drag Race and borrowed someone from there.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, it was actually yeah. So it'd be interesting to talk to her about it because I think Justine, who we may be talking about, got quite hard done by during a lot of the scoring, and because Justine, who's a very dear friend of mine, has a big reaction to things. So for a TV person, that's like great. It's like great TV to like needle her, and so I think maybe she might have been hard done by in a few tasks, but she the one that she liked the most is the doppelganger one because the guy that her doppelganger is a huge legend in the drag scene from New Zealand. Is a big hero to a lot of the drag community, and so she got him, and she actually worked out a routine. You talked to her about it; it's incredible, and so she was so stoked to get him, and then we all got the same score.
So before we move on,
Mhm,
the question that I've never asked anyone from New Zealand,
mhm.
but I'd like to ask, um, are you somehow related to Rose Matafeo?
Me? No, I'm not. I'm not. No, but I have known her. I may have given her a first television job. I work as a director as well, and I made like a mockumentary about comedians at a comedy club. And Rose and Ursula Carlson, who's also in the New Zealand series of Taskmaster, were on the same episode as two novices because they were at the time. They were complete newbies, and they did like their first TV set that we filmed, and it was a mockumentary. By the time I had edited it and got it to the broadcaster and it went to air, um, they had taken over the entire comedy scene. They were nailing it, and so the episode didn't make any sense.
Ursula
Yeah,
is amazing. I interviewed her last year.
yeah,
The reason why I asked that is because Rose was on Graham Norton when she was promoting I think it was series 2 of Starstruck, and
hmm
they did that thing where they do the red chair, and there was someone else from New Zealand on there, and Graham made a joke saying, "Oh, you must be related to her." After she disappeared, Rose then realised that it's her friend's sister, and
Oh, yeah, right.
yeah, so it put the stereotype that you're all related together. So
Yeah.
I would join in on that.
Well, we all know each other, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move on to talk about Taskmaster New Zealand Series 3, Episode 3. And so we start with the prize task. Hopefully, you still enjoy my little
I
jingle.
sure am.
Yeah. Think of the jingle music. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So the prize task, the most prized childhood possession.
Hmm.
Now, my question is why a ninja outfit?
Well, because I was getting ready to move, I was actually moving stuff around in the garage, and I found. So hugely became obsessed with ninja movies when I was a kid, and growing up on a farm meant I had access to a lot of dangerous weaponry, basically. So I made a lot of very obscure. Well, I became very obsessed, and I made like terrible weapons that weren't. But also, I went and made some quite good replicas of weapons. And basically, it's just spent a lot of my time being an absolute psycho on a farm by myself. My brothers were at a different school. My oldest brother had got moved on from home. My next brother was at a boarding school, and I was just had the run of the farm. So I was grinding blades and like a scythe and stuff and throwing them around. I made a bow and arrow, and yeah. So that because I had spent so long trying to get a good ninja get up, when I finally found like a that costume basically over the years in like various clothing secondhand shops. I was like, I'm not throwing this away, so I put it away, and I was like, that's probably one of the most treasured things from my childhood is the amount of fun that I had by myself. It was before computers. Yeah.
Did you ever have to tell the police this story of owning all these weapons?
No, no. In New Zealand, you can kind of do what you want, and we're very rural, and yeah, probably. I don't think I saw a police officer for most of my childhood. Um,
That's good.
but yeah, but the good thing about being a ninja is they wouldn't have seen me either. So
Well, hopefully the New Zealand police are completely different to the police we see on Wellington Paranormal,
yeah,
which is another fantastic program that many Taskmaster alumni have been in.
I've been in it. I'm in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm Satan. Yeah.
uh, um, it's a very good program. I watched all when it first came out in the UK. I watched every episode in one day.
Hmm.
So I watched
Wow.
all. I think there was like three series at the time. So I watched all
Yeah.
three series when it all came out, and then the
Yeah.
day
Wow.
all came out, I watched all that in one go.
Holy smokes.
I
Yeah.
I had nothing else better to do apparently.
It took me like all day to get there. I have a lot of prosthetic makeup as Satan. It sealed up my face pretty much. But what I had a running nose, and this is quite gross. Over the course of the filming, it just filled up with my own snot. But
Oh,
it didn't. My mouth, it didn't, and it would sort of come out around the sides and be like this. And like the director was like, "This is great. That looks so good. Makeup, you're doing a great job." And I was like, "Makeup, were like, who's putting this drool on?" I was like, "Oh, it's my own snot. Please, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And they're like, "No, no, it's good. It looks good. It looks good." But when they took it off, like I wasn't allowed to take it off. I was like, please let me take it off. And they're like, no, no, it's fine. We do this all the time. It's always gross. Don't worry. But when she pulled it down, it was just this big stretch of
oh,
mucus, and she like physically recoiled and had to stand back for a second. It was so embarrassing. But yeah, but it was very funny, so it's okay. Yeah,
yeah, it's a
good movie.
very good program. I highly recommend it. It's available on Sky Comedy in the UK. Right. So now we've done with the sidetrack stuff. We've
Okay, sorry.
we'll get back to my obsession with New Zealand towards the end because
Okay, sure.
that's another favorite pastime of mine to tell different New Zealand comedians or anyone that works in New Zealand tell you how obsessed I am with their own country. I don't even live there and I've never even visited. So we'll get on to that towards the end. So we had
Okay.
Chris Parker with his tin car,
Hmm.
it looked like it needed a clean. It was very tinny. We had Justine Smith with a banjolele and a joke book.
Hmm.
Now, have you ever heard of a banjolele? Because not many people have heard of a banjolele.
No, I hadn't, and it was such a great portmanteau of words. Of like as soon as I heard it, I was like, ah, it must be a banjo and a ukulele, and I was like, this is so great. I couldn't wait to see it, and
Oh,
it was so cool to hear that she got it from her grandfather. Yeah.
well, it's on the list of things that for me to purchase. I've already bought a mandolin that's hanging on the other side of my wall, which is a weird thing to purchase at my age. Uh, I only wanted it because because they had it in the TV show Detectorists, and two,
Ah.
you used to have them in Tudor era. No one my age have ever said those words in the same. And I only wanted Banjolele so I could play a Cleaning Windows by George Formby.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which is another set of words no one's ever said. And then Cuddy Forrester had the school reports, and Paul
Hmm.
Igor had the cardboard cutout of his own mum. Where did he get
Hmm.
that from? Do you know where this comes from? Because I didn't know you could get cardboard cutouts of your own human self.
No, I assume he went to a printer's and it he got it printed out. But like yeah, it was very sweet. He actually wanted to actually bring his mum, but he was worried he because he would have had a bit of trouble with helping get her into the theater. So he thought it was just a bit yeah. So it was very sweet. He brought a little cardboard cutout of her instead. It was great. When I say little, I mean life size.
Yeah, it could have not been lifetime by the time of the series then because she could have shrunk because people do shrink as they
That
get
is true.
older.
That is
Yeah.
true.
So task number one: hang the
Hmm.
washing dry. Hang the washing out to dry.
Hmm.
Um, and then Paul will spin it. Spin it. Yeah, Paul will spin it. Yeah, I'm down with the kids. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
in it. So Chris Parker was very clever at hanging them and was very good. So he spun 462 items, and
Hmm.
you only spun 17.
Hmm.
What was your thought process? Let me say that again. What was your thought process about it?
Well,
They're not very popular
uh,
washing lines.
yeah, yeah. There's that thing when you're watching in the studio, and when I saw him pick up the whole basket, I was like, you. Um, because, yeah, I think I was in a silly mood, and when I saw it, I kind of thought I knew what was going to happen. So I thought I was being quite clever because I stuffed a whole lot of things in the jacket and then tied it up, I think. And I thought it did quite well, but when I saw that Chris had done that and that he put it in the middle so there'd be less centrifugal force on it,
Yeah,
it was great. And it was also in the series episode 3. So I had one episode 1, spoiler alert, and I'd also won episode 2, spoiler alert. So I had gotten out to a very uncomfortable lead,
yeah,
and this is the beginning of Chris's clawback, and it was New Zealand's. It's all about the little guy. It's all about being an underdog, and all our stories are about someone breaking the system or sticking it to the man, or like the comeback is the greatest story in New Zealand, and it's a very being in the lead is a very awkward place to be because you can't really pile on anyone else because you're in the lead. So like, I established myself as a target early on, and I was also slightly relieved when I saw that he was coming back because I was like, great, let him stick his head out, and then everyone can have a go at him. Yeah.
yeah. And I do think it's a task that can only be done in New Zealand because of the weather. If you try
Hmm.
like the UK, you'll be panicking that you have the like really bad wet washing. So I'm quite glad
Yeah.
New Zealand, but hopefully they'll not recreate that task in the Australian version because they're all filming in New Zealand, the Australian.
That's right. They are. Yeah, and they'll have brand spanking new tasks,
Yeah.
and it will be a fantastic show. Yeah.
Hopefully we don't see washing ever again because I do think it works well as a task, but it sort of reminds people they've got the washing to do when they get home. I don't really want to be remembered. Oh, I've got the ironing to do. Oh no,
Well,
no.
they might be doing it during watching Taskmaster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could be. So, task number two: pick
Hmm.
a card from Paul's deck and
Hmm.
build a big flag of the country written on your card. Now, that is a very interesting one for
Hmm.
a multiple reasons. One, because the task is very good.
Mm.
Two, because it's apparently very easy to make a mistake, as you would, as many people would know. So, what was your thought process? What happened in your noggin when you read the task and you saw the card you'd chosen?
Well, I pulled out a card that had the American flag on it and UAE on it, and I think I was very very lucky. Had I pulled out any other card, I could have easily made the same mistake anyone else. Maybe not the Mexico one, but like I'm okay with flags, so I'm not that knowledgeable, and I probably would not have. But like even when I saw the American flag with UAE on it, I was like, my brain said that's not right. That is not the
Yeah,
flag of UAE. But then I was like, do you know what the flag of the UAE is? And I was like, no. Is it? Does it look like this? Is this the stars and stripes, or is this like the? Because I wasn't. Then I was like, how many stars are in there? Have I actually got this wrong? So that's why I asked Paul. I was like, hang on, what is the flag of the UAE? So I got him to show me, and then I realized that it had been a trick. I didn't actually twig
yeah,
early on. I had a massive meltdown internally because I was like, do I know what the UAE flags is? So it was yeah, and then the rest of it was pretty straightforward. Then I just made a flag.
yeah. And that's what's interesting that when because there is some there's videos on YouTube to explain my point, but there is some flags that look really similar to others. So there's I think and I'm not probably not going to say the country because I don't want to offend anyone if I get it wrong. But there
Yeah,
is another flag that is similar, but without the stars, has that little moon, half moon thing.
yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, so I think some of them are quite similar. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I kind of weirdly fell into the trap of the task, but in my own. And yeah, I was very lucky to pull that card. I might have made the mistake, but also I also probably would have googled the flag straight away as well because I had my phone on me.
yeah,
So I might have caught it later on because the Mexico and the Italian flag, I have a history. I've got a lot of baggage in my life of getting it wrong. So
yeah,
I always want to double check it. Yeah.
yeah. And
There's
and
a lot of overthinking that I do all the time.
yeah. And I've noticed with the New Zealand version, they're the only version that in every series has done something to do with other countries. So we had
Ah, okay.
the flag one in series three, and I can't remember which one it was series three, but in the first series they had the one where they had to throw the dart and then they had to come up with the national anthem, and we had Guy Williams singing a song for uh, whatever, whichever one it was that I can't think of the name of. But
Mm,
it's one of the ones that have like a really long name that no one can ever remember.
mm.
Or maybe
And also,
that was it. There's a song.
yeah, right.
So 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 it's history. So it's like with the Taskmaster in the UK, most tasks in a series has to involve a duck at least once. Because I
Right.
with ducks. He even took a massive duck to
Ah,
France with him when he met all the other
right.
masters and assistants, including Paul Williams.
Yeah. Also, New Zealand has, as a country, has a almost identical flag to Australia.
Yeah,
So our whole country is prepared for getting our flag wrong, and our sites we're on our heckles anytime brings up our flag. So we're very very flag conscious. So
yeah.
I had a bit of that as well. Yeah, Australia has another 2 stars in their flag,
Yeah.
but the rest of it's the same, and it's a disgusting flag.
Well,
Our flag is beautiful.
done the color. In the color of the stars different. In the
The
sky,
color is different as well.
and
Yeah.
that's the thing that always spots it. So I never get it confused because I'm more
Yes.
obsessed with New Zealand than I am with Australia.
Well,
We'll
good. You
get
should
on
be.
to that
Yes.
towards the end. We'll unpack that because it's very questionable. Um, people have been starting to get worried about me about it because I sort of forget where I am sometimes. Anyway, so we move on to task number three. Do something that will frighten the taskmaster. I want to know, right? And whenever if I ever get to interview Chris Parker, I'll ask him about it. But from your opinion, did Chris being kidnapped? Did that seem real or did that seem fake? Because I can't tell whether or not they set that up or not because it's the way they've orchestrated it, where he was going through the thought process and it all happened. And I don't know how Paul is acting because I've not seen his programming in that. I've not seen that. I've not seen that sister program that he's in. I can't remember what
Good
that's
sister.
called.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
not
It's
seen
great.
that
It's great.
because it's not available in the UK yet. Uh, and I really wanted to because I'm desperate to watch it. Or if it's a DVD, I could probably get it somehow.
Mm,
Or I can pester Paul for a link. Anyway,
mhm.
so was it fake or was it real from your point of view when you were watching in the studio?
I mean, from my point of view, it was fake, and when it was, I think it was a great joke. I think they did it really well. But the fact that Chris had not had any sort of trauma from an actual kidnapping was a good hint that there wasn't a news story that a comedian had been kidnapped during a live show. But I think, and it was, it was a great gag, and I thought they did it really well because yeah, I mean I for some tasks they gave the whole thing's very secretive,
Yeah,
and we don't know anything about it. You put in a little room, and then you just brought out as it looks. That's all real. But before a couple of tasks, they gave us a special microphone that could be that as they call it, a long range microphone.
yeah.
So they said that they swapped microphone and said, if you're a couple of k's away, we'll still record you. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know what was going to happen. But as they cut it out of my one, I realized that Jeremy was also the host of a radio show, like
Yeah.
quite a sort of blokey, very funny show,
He does
and
it with that Heath, doesn't he?
he does it with Matt Heath, yeah. And I realized that was on the time that we were recording, and I was like, I was doing the maths in my head. I think we could have got to the studio. I could have they record
Yeah.
next to a big glass window, and I could have like ran at the glass and like started beating the hell out of it,
That would be
I
perfect.
it would have been good, but I realized too late because I also initially got confused. I thought Paul was the Taskmaster. That's one of the tasks I got wrong. So I started screaming at Paul to give him a fright, and I was so confused. And then I was like, "Oh no!" And then by the time I'd figured out what was going on, I think I'd ran out of time to get to his house.
Uh,
So I panicked and just like thought I'd give him a fright, not knowing that I've met Jeremy before, I've worked with him
yeah.
before, and he's got my number, and so just
But if you had
listening to my
got
phone.
there, if you'd got there, like if you thought it was
Yeah.
quick enough, you could have rang into the radio station and you could have done it live because what
Yes.
you ended up doing was pretending to be police, pretending to be all sorts over the phone, which is sounds
Yeah.
like something that if he didn't know he was on, if he forgot that you were filming Taskmaster that day,
Yeah.
he could have thought some mad person had rang up.
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't have my number, like I knew it was stupid, sort of, but I can't, and I knew it was not right, but I thought the accumulation of weirdness would be enough. But I forgot
Yeah.
that he had my number.
But could you not put no caller ID on where when you ring
I
him?
mean, again, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things going on, and I ran out of time. And I thought the only thing I can do is just leave him weird. Because the first thing I thought I was going to do was like I was like I can either try to scare him funny or like really try to scare him. And I thought, what's the worst thing that could happen to me? And then I was like something to my family. So my first instinct was ring him up and tell him that something horrible had happened to his family. And then that's where the idea came from. And then as I picked up the phone, I was like, it's not worth it, man. Don't do that to somebody. Like
So,
that's horrible.
yeah. So before we go into the live task, without learning so much that we've done so far about you, do you regret anything to do with this series? Do you regret anything you've done? Anything you wish you hadn't done or would do again?
No, not really. I mean, the only I made a decision during it, which was I guess because it's time based, you don't have a lot of time. So like I was trying to make shortcuts in a lot of like while things are happening, like like I think about things too much. And one thing I thought, oh, it's not really a shortcut, but I made the decisions. I don't know really know why. To when I was doing creative things, to kind of just do bad acting as
Yeah.
a joke, and so anytime I did it like a sketch, I kind of acted badly, and as a joke, but it's not. It's okay. It's all right, but it's not. And then I saw Chris's stuff, and Chris was so incredible at like making these characters and these stories and these sketches by himself. And the one with like Paul and other Paul, like about in the Enchanted Forest, is so incredible. Like it's such an incredible piece of television, and they're all just going for it. They're committed to like a character, and they're doing incredible acting, and like it's so funny. And I was so gutted that I made the choice to just kind of make sort of crappy sketches,
Yeah.
and they made really good sketches. And that's the one thing I wish I hadn't done. But it is a lot harder, and they're so good at it.
Well,
Yeah, it was yeah.
well, one day, if there is there a version of the Logies in New Zealand, like an awards type thing.
Yeah, there is actually. Yeah.
Well, hopefully Taskmaster wins that. Taskmaster New
Well,
Zealand.
hopefully, yeah, yeah. It's got a great name. It's called the New Zealand Television Awards.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting. And but yeah, I think so next year, fingers crossed. Who
Yeah,
knows?
because Taskmaster UK has won an international Emmy and has won
Wow.
no other version. Well, the Swedish version's won a few awards. I know that for a fact. The American version failed very quickly,
Hmm.
like most American programs that are remakes. And I think the Norwegian one won an award, but the, that's what's really fascinating because my knowledge of TV is really odd. I know so much that when I
Hmm.
tell someone about it, they question why I know it. So
Yeah.
I can recall an episode of a children's show from the 70s called Mr.
Mm.
Ben to someone that was
Hmm.
alive when it happened,
Wow.
and I can tell the same story to someone my age, and they'll think I've lost my marbles. It's about a
Mm.
man that never said a word wearing a top hat called Mr. Ben. And it was just it was a wheel and it just in various activities. It just went about his day. It went about
He
his
was he's a wheel.
yeah, 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 it was like a spinny wheel, so it chose what activity he was doing that day.
Ah, okay, right, got you right.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
look it up.
yeah, it's very bizarre, but it was on it's on Amazon Prime. Who
Ah, okay.
it's Pingu's on Amazon Prime as well. Who would watch that? Not me. Yeah, I do. Uh, yeah, very weird. So yeah, and that's the other problem that if anyone can help me, this is a plea for help. Where do I watch the Logies? Because I want to watch them. Are they on YouTube? Because BAFTAs normally air it on YouTube, but the Logies I can never find clips on YouTube,
Mm.
but I can never find the full episodes, and I'm like, "Rah!"
Mm.
Yeah, I made
You might
that
have to go
noise.
to the dark web for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I make that noise as well. My parents wonder why I'm making a noise. So we move on to the magical live task, which
Hmm.
turns out the UK have been borrowing some of their New Zealand live tasks. Well,
Oh wow, wow.
Paul knows about it because Alex
Mm.
did a group chat with Paul Williams and David Sunday,
Mm.
so he knows about it. So it's sweep your item towards the drop.
Hmm.
You all did it at once. They all did well, apart from Justine.
Hmm.
And what was your thoughts on these live tasks? Did you enjoy them? Did you hate them? Did you wonder why you were doing them? Did you think there was something wrong with you?
Um, I think I was quite paranoid about them because out of all the tasks, they they are the least. They're the least. I think I had a less chance of succeeding
Yeah,
because they're not. They're very short. You don't have a lot of time, and I don't want to say they're lamer, but they're kind of. They're not lame. They're just kind of. There's not a lot of skill necessary. Like there's no being smart or something. Like it's hard to get an advantage. So like I mean it's like what was this one? You're pushing a chair, like sliding something.
yeah,
So it's a lot of it's just sort of luck, sort of, or like yeah, it's hard to get an edge.
yeah.
And so I really, really tried my best, and I think I did quite well on the live tasks.
Mm,
Or like I didn't win a lot, but I think I just did okay, which is
yeah.
okay to get my average up. But
That's
yeah,
too bad. But yeah, the live tasks have always been that every version has tried to do a live task, and what's really interesting is when you watch them, the UK version has like the stage isn't just like that. The UK version has a long bit, which I don't
mm,
think the New Zealand version has, or that might be my eyes playing up, not
mm,
noticing a massive long bit. But they call it in the UK version the Nap It because Jessica Knapp
okay.
fell off it.
Oh wow.
She was walking
Wow.
towards it, and instead of walking on it, she fell off it and landed on the floor. The whole
Wow.
audience were laughing, and you could just
Right.
hear while someone was laughing, you could hear one word from Greg going, "Are you all right?" And whilst everyone else is laughing, including Alex, whose face is now completely red, while she's just properly fell to the floor, and all you've seen is first a leg score, then a hair just flops down. And so,
Wow.
so they call it the nappet. And it's always interesting watching other versions when they don't have the big long bit. So
Mm.
in that, so you know the
Well,
studio. This is
but Paul Ego's sorry, Paul Ego very famously fell off the stage during the New Zealand Music Awards. If you search Paul Ego falls off the stage, it's a great. He does a speech with another guy and he walks backwards and he just drops. And Paul is huge. He's so tall and he just goes rop. And it was the greatest thing.
yeah.
It was the greatest thing in the world. Yeah.
So with the studio, from
Hmm.
the other angle of the studio, the bits you see, not what we see, is
Hmm.
the studio a proper studio, or is it like the UK version where they dismantle it after the series has ended and then they rebuild it on the next series, or is it always there?
Oh no, it's the set they wheel in, and I think this year we had it. I don't really know the history of it this year, but they moved it to a different location. So I think this year, which I think the sound was a bit funny in the first episode because they hadn't gotten. I don't know what had happened, but we actually in the first episode we couldn't hear some stuff that well. I think there was something technically went a bit funny, but they kind of sorted it out. But yeah, it is a real studio. They wheel in the set, they build the set, and the long bit at the back is behind them. It's a massive TV, a massive screen drops down behind us, and then when we do the live task, that opens up, and there is a long
Yeah,
stretch behind us. Yeah.
yeah. And so I've only noticed today because the UK version aired last night. It was Thursday for my future traveller. Um, I don't mean that same joke again. It was I did it for Ursula. I opened up the interview saying, "What's it like in the future?"
Hmm.
And she said, "There's no flying cars just yet." And I very much questioned my approach to it. But it, in the UK version, it's a lot darker. So when you watch it, it's a lot darker.
Yeah.
And when you watch the New Zealand version, it's a lot lighter. So you can see the red
Right.
popping out more than you can on the UK version.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And it's surprising when you were saying that there was errors in the first episode because
Mm.
most of series, I think it was 13, had got an error during the whole thing because Channel 4 had a fire in the building
Oh
not
wow.
so long before they aired it. So the first episode accidentally was a bleeped version, and
Okay.
every other version had a mist over it, like a grey mist. So when you watch the
Oh.
final episode, they fixed it, and so it looks really different because you've been getting used to this green, this like grey mist type thing covering the whole thing, and you just
Oh.
see Alex. He was on stage. Alex was performing the horn section, so you see him after tweeting, going, "I'm sorry that there was an error with Taskmaster tonight. The official episode's on all four. I do apologise. Shouldn't happen next week." 9 weeks later, still all the errors were still there, and then they got it fixed because there was a fire, but it infected Channel 4, Channel 5, and it
Oh, okay.
meant that subtitles weren't working. Some shows would drop off air,
Hmm.
and then there was a black dot in the screen to let you know because
Wow.
I recorded it. I was there. I recorded it. I said in the video, "Here we are at the moment that Channel 4 stopped broadcasting. It's a momentous moment in history." And my dad went, why are you recording that?" I went, "Oh, it's TV history." No one cared about it after that apart from me. I, and so I just had it paused. I just had a video of a car advert that wasn't moving.
Oh gosh, right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
So
glad you got
yeah,
it.
the episode winner was Paul Ego, which we'll
Hmm.
give a round of applause.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so there we have it. That is episode 3. Now we've come to a new segment that we like to do here at Taskmaster World podcast, where if we
Hmm.
have a New Zealand comedian on, we like to give them a minute and let me witter at them and tell them stop beeping at me and tell them why I'm obsessed with New Zealand. because I told
Mm-hmm.
Paul Williams and he thought it was hilarious, so I run with it. So
Mm-hmm.
ever since I watched Taskmaster New Zealand, I got hooked on New Zealand like a drug, but with New
Mm-hmm.
Zealand. And so I know I sort of I'm not going to recite it now because it'll look really awful of me, but I sort of know bits of the New Zealand national anthem.
Great.
So I know that and I know like more of the English part. I know a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
of the Maori part because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
one of my pastimes is to Google whether or not Duolingo has updated to add Maori just yet, even though they've been working on it for 2 years.
Ah, have they? Ah,
Yeah, and there was even
that'd
the
be great
news
when they do it.
article of the woman working on it saying, "Oh, I've been doing this for a living, this sitting here going, da, da, da," and then she would say it. And so, because Maori, and because I do scouts as a
Mm-hmm.
pastime as well as watching TV and interviewing famous people,
Mm-hmm.
I do scout, and whenever I get the opportunity to do a night I did a international night where I
Mm-hmm.
played the New Zealand national anthem. I showed him a TV show and I explained the whole process. These are to like 6 year olds. I explained the process of why there's two different versions, and then I explained the whole process of why in every program you watch they always speak Maori at the beginning and then at the end
Mm.
because of the whole funding thing. Because in Britain, with Welsh comedy, they fund. So look, Kerry Pritchard McLean has a Radio Wales sitcom called The Learners on Radio
Mm-hmm.
Wales, and that's funded by the government because they want to keep the language alive.
Mm-hmm.
It's also
Great.
it. And so that's
Yeah.
why that's why they do it in New Zealand, and none of the kids care. I do, but none of the kids care, and because it's really weird. So I've seen nearly all comedy programs, and I've seen 7 Days, I've seen Patriot Brains,
Mm.
which makes no sense why Bill Bailey's doing it because he knows nothing. Um, and when I was on my college radio before it got taken down, I would play. I played the national anthem uh, on my college radio. It had at 7 p.m., so I don't know who heard it. And then I also played the New Zealand version of the Telethon theme tune.
Okay.
So yeah, and I've never been to New Zealand, um, and it's always if I because I don't really like going out, but if I had to go somewhere, I would go New
Mm-hmm.
Zealand. And it turns out my grandparents want to go there as well.
Oh, come on down, mate.
Uh,
Come on down.
And so and I also found it funny because when we do stuff in English, because I have to retake English, that's a whole nother story for another day.
Mm-hmm.
When they say, "Oh, where would you want to go?" I write down New Zealand, and my
Mm-hmm.
reason is because I know most of the comedy scene, but
Mm-hmm.
I've interviewed a lot of New Zealand comedians and a director, which was Burgess.
Tom Furnace?
Furnace, that's
Yeah.
it. Which was a really interesting thing. But yeah, but Google Maps is annoying because you can't find the Taskmaster house on New Zealand Google Maps. It's hidden behind a
Can't
bush.
you?
No, it's been hidden behind.
Oh, right, 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 right. Yeah.
You get so close, but then a bush is in the way.
It happens.
Yeah,
Happens far too often.
yeah. So for people that want to see you now that
Did,
Taskmaster's
did, did,
ended,
did Paul, has anyone told you about the Taskmaster House? Any of the history of the Taskmaster House in New Zealand?
I well, me and Paul spoke for 2 hours. Uh,
Yeah.
which most of it was him telling me about how he was uh, stalking Jermaine Clements.
Oh, yeah.
But no one's told me this. Do you want to relay this tale?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I might be wrong, and this is just sort of rumors that I heard, but I think it was originally built by like a eccentric sort of millionaire who wanted to make a either like a no, I think it just for his house. He built the reason why the doors and everything are so tall is and the deck of it is so high is because he wanted to sit down and have his breakfast while looking at giraffes. So the barn and everything is the perfect height for a giraffe. So the first floor is up so high that he would be having his coffee and whatever, and a giraffe's head would be at the perfect height. It all suddenly makes sense. Now I'm pretty sure it's right. And then he built this house, and then he couldn't get the license for giraffes. You can't just sort of have exotic animals in New Zealand unless you're qualified or have the right
That makes
stuff.
sense.
So then it got turned into a B&B. So
Wow.
there you go. So you can stay there. You can come when you visit New Zealand. Come stay at the Taskmaster house.
Well, that hopefully I end up going because for anyone that wants to see you now that there is no Taskmaster, they can't see
Mm-hmm.
you weekly. Where can they see you? That includes on stage stuff if you do anything on stage or
Mm.
and on TV. So that the both of them you can say them separately or you can say them together.
Well, I think the Sky UK or has the movie that me and Sally are in called How to Please a Woman, and
Yeah,
that's a good
yeah.
laugh
It's a
if
Sky
you're old enough.
original.
Sky original, yes, that's right. I'm in a Amazon Prime movie, Jermaine Clement's in it as well, called Don't Make Me Go. That's a very emotional movie.
I'll be
Um,
watching that straight away.
it's just I mean, if you like crying, it's a great movie. Yeah, but it is a wonderful,
Yeah.
beautiful movie. And I'm not in it much. I'm just in a little part. And
Still
yeah,
doing
that's
the Project NZ.
yes, the New Zealand, but yeah. So that I do a nightly show in New Zealand every now and then called The Project. There's 7 days. Have you been paying attention? There's a whole bunch of stuff that people in New Zealand probably know about anyway. So, but yeah, those are the two things that you could probably watch in the UK
Yeah,
and get a taste of me,
yeah.
if that's a
Uh,
phrase that's
if
right.
you want to watch, have you been paying attention to NZ? There is ways to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Legally, it's legal from anyone's point of view, apart from the person doing it. But you can
Of
watch it
course.
on YouTube. They're on YouTube.
Are they?
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah. So that's how I get. That's why I've seen them. I
oh,
I
right.
watch them in. You should. I used to watch them all. When they used to be a bloody regular, I used to watch them in class. I used to be sat. I'd finished my work. Obviously, I'm not a rebel. You've known me for quite a while now, so you know I'm not. I don't look like a rebel. I don't like break doors down and bash dolls like some people do. With no names. But I did watch it in class, and once I was sat there watching it, and the teacher says, "Any interesting news?" I went, no, as the program isn't really factual. No. And so if so, now we're going to steal another concept from Ed
Mm-hmm.
Gamble. Ed Gamble that does
Mm-hmm.
the official podcast,
Mm-hmm.
where you have to rate your experience on the Taskmaster podcast if you want to
Mm-hmm.
be posh
Mm-hmm.
from a 1 to 5.
1 to 5. What's the worst score you've ever had?
It's I don't remember. I've done so many now. I've forgotten. I've rated
Does
myself.
everyone
I've given myself 0.
has anyone? But everyone must give you a 5, surely.
No, none. Sometimes it can be 4s.
I think 4 would be the worst. Really, I mean, you've got to go 5. It's like the silver medal. Like you didn't. It's not quite enough to win. Bronze, like you got something.
Yeah,
Like at least one's funny. But a 4's probably the worst. And as much pleasure as it would give me to be really cruel, I think I'm going to give you a 5 because I've had a really fun time.
yeah. There we go. I never know. I never know what to say next when that happens. I just go along with it. There we have it. Another wonderful interview. And if you want to see more from Josh, you know where to look. We've just said it. And if you stick around on the channel for any longer, if you're subscribed to the Tom Mason Multiverse, as I call it, the TGM Production Empire, my not official production company, um, and that's a very loud child.
Oh yeah, sorry. There's a couple of toddlers trying to break into the
Well,
house. That's right.
well, it's a perfect time for that to happen. This is the key bit, and so you can be able to watch it. And if you watch the short world of Tom Mason, you might see something very special that might come out before this. Because I am going to do something really funny. You'll know what I'm on about once we've finished here because you'll find this hilarious. So will I. So there we have it. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back talking about the UK version. I'll be back for more interviews. Check all my channels for interviews because if you're sticking around, there might have some exciting things happening next year. So, stay tuned. And if you want to be a part of Tom's Live at the Apollo, like my version of Live at the Apollo, there's a tweet about it. Please reply, new comedians. I need that to happen because I want to do less work. I'm very lazy. So, thank you guys for watching. And remember, keep tasking. Bye. I don't know who I'm waving at.
Hello everyone, please subscribe to Taskmaster World.